Season 15, Stop That Buzz, is the only episode in which Dart appears in without a speaking role. Have you ever noticed how poorly cropped Toby's model promo on the Thomas wiki is? The copyright infringement is clearly visible on the bottom right corner. Please, can somebody finally fix this error? It's bugged the hell out of me for years. Diesel's model uses traction tires, which can be noticed in this shot from Season 6's The World's Strongest Engine. When the show switched to CGI, Rosie did not receive lamp irons despite having them in the model era. However, she was apparently meant to have them, as her CGI render has holes where they should be placed. When Pip and Emma were purchased in 2011, the engines were fitted with nameplates, although only Emma was ever shown to wear them. Duncan's only film appearance was in The Great Discovery. He was going to appear in Blue Mountain Mystery, but alas, that didn't come to be. Joe Mills was initially intended to voice Skiff in the US dub, but in the end, it was decided that Jamie Bauer was going to voice him in both. Season 17's Percy's Lucky Day features this amusing goof.
So Percy was coupled up to Ben.
Hilarious. There are quite a few episodes that have never made it to home media in the US, but do you know how many have made it to the UK? One singular episode that has not been released on any UK DVD, and that episode is Season 24's Thomas and the Forest Engines. In 2016's 4D special called Bubbling Boilers, Thomas gets soaked in bubble liquid and ends up blowing bubbles out of his funnel. Allegedly, that was a scrapped storyline for Season 13's Slippy Sodor. Despite the following not having any speaking roles in the episode, voice actors Jonathan Broadbent, Mike Grady, and Miranda Rayson are credited in Season 19's Slow Steven. This is likely due to the fact that Bill and Ben, Sir Robert, and Millie were initially intended to appear. In Season 12's Thomas Puts the Brakes On, Thomas's brakes malfunction and he can't stop when a runaway occurs. For scenarios like that, a brake van is used to halt the train, but despite one being shown to be a part of Thomas's consist, it ends up being utterly pointless. Interestingly, only 2 episodes later we will receive Push Me Pull You, which has a very similar plot. However, a brake van is omitted from Scalloi's train. The only time a brake van was shown to do its purpose was Season 1's Troublesome Trucks.
But the guards stopped the trucks and got out to warn approaching engines.
Speaking of Push Me Pull You, have you ever noticed how it and Season 10's The Green Controller are the only episodes from the hit era to jump straight into the plot without a drawn out intro sequence? Season 9 was the first to have the narrator read the episode titles aloud. However, the American Thomas and the Toy Workshop DVD omitted Brandon's title card narration.
Thomas and the Statue. Winter was coming to the island of Sodor.
Winter was coming to the island of Sodor.
Despite Rusty being male officially, he was accidentally misgendered in the 2003 Writer's Bible and the first Season 9 TV airings in the US.
That was Rusty. She thinks her horn is special, but we don't.
In Season 17's The Missing Christmas Decorations, Percy is voiced by Keith Wickham and Martin Sherman respectively. Stock footage of that episode would later be reused in Season 20's Sydney Sings. However, due to Percy gaining new voice actors by that time, Nigel Pilkington and Christopher Ragland had to redub Keith and Martin's original lines.
Sydney? How long have you been up there?
Sydney, how long have you been up there?
Sydney? How long have you been up there?
Sydney,
How long have you been up there?
In the Big World special, Rob Rackstraw gave James an American accent in both dubs in this scene.
I wouldn't have made it without her.
Hello.
Welcome to Sodor.
Thank you.
I wouldn't have made it without her.
Hello.
Welcome to Sodor.
Thank you.
Ben has appeared in 3 episodes without Bill, but Bill never appeared in an episode without Ben. A pencil can be seen in this shot in Thomas and the Magic Railroad. For some reason, Madge's tongue was edited out in the later version of Wash Behind Your Buffers. Despite being the other major player in the episode Steady Eddie, Gordon doesn't get a chance to speak in it. Toby only has 2 lines of dialogue in the episode Toby's Triumph.
I've never taken a very special passenger before, he wished. But not very special ones, said Toby.
The same is also true for Henry in the episode Henry's Forest.
I hope the wind won't harm the forest. What will happen to all the animals who live here?
And for Edward in the episode Edward the Very Useful Engine.
But sir, he asked, who will look after the freight cars? It's good to be back, Edward chuffed happily.
Michael Brandon stutters here.
But when Irenaeus arrived to collect the dinosaur, he was surprised.
George Carlin hiccups here.
Come on. Why aren't you cars where you should be?
Michael Angelis says freight cars instead of trucks.
The Fat Controller sent me with some more freight cars.
And he also says airplane instead of aeroplane here.
Why are you not ready, Spencer? I will miss my airplane.
The Duchess of Boxford never spoke in the model series. For some reason, Alec Baldwin gave Scottish characters different accents. He gave Duncan a Liverpudlian and Donald and Douglas an American one.
Ghosts, things that go bump in the night. Rubbish. Did you shunt those freight cars onto the other line? Donald asked. Donald is in trouble, said Duck. Donald in trouble, Douglas cried. I'm on my way.
Bill and Ben have distinct whistle designs. Diesel has a whistle in the Railway series. The original version of Henry the Green Engine contained a racial slur. Yeah, okay, everybody knows about that one. I find it amusing how voice actors pronounce things differently. John Hassler says zebra and Keith Wickham says zebra.
Which has lots of animals, such as zebras.
He could be on an African safari racing a zebra.
You can see Thomas's pink undercoat showing through in the Great Race. Emily gets to say
Cinders and ashes.
in Tickled Pink, which is usually Thomas's catchphrase. The same is also true for Topham in Buckled Tracks and Bumpy Trucks.
Oh, the indignity. That's my line.
Gordon is the youngest of the 7 main engines. The chuffing sound used in faulty whistles varies between dubs.
Duncan carried on cheerfully down the track.
But Duncan carried on cheerfully down the track.
As does the dialogue here in Spaceship.
Hello, Thomas. Percy peeped. Thank you for coming to help me. Thomas buffered up to Percy, and they headed home towards Tidmouth Sheds.
Hello, he peeped happily. Thomas buffered up to Percy and they headed home towards Tidmouth Sheds.
The squeaking sound for Alicia the Mouse was altered on the Bumper Party Collection DVD.
And Thomas named her Alicia. And Thomas named her Alicia.
Nick Jr. messed up the episode title card, calling it What's the Matter with Henry. Brandon's inconsistent voice for Rusty is so bad that it's hilarious.
Don't use the old wooden bridge, said Rusty. It's dangerous. Even so, you were still late,
Teased Rusty.
Slow down, whistled Rusty.
This isn't the time for an adventure, tooted Rusty. We've got work to do.
Hello, Thomas.
He honked happily.
Can I help?
He also randomly gave Hector a Hispanic accent and James works it out.
We need Edward's help. He could couple up to the front of the train.
But I like how he makes the characters pant while being out of breath.
I have a problem, wheezed Sir Handel sadly. It happens when I go up hills. I start to rattle and rock, and then I have to stop.
I'll soon be back with so much coal, puffed James. It will take you all winter to deliver it.
The color of James's roof is inconsistent in the books. Sometimes it's black like in the show, sometimes red, and on one occasion, white. Bertie is erroneously seen laughing here. Gordon's special coaches were meant to appear in season 12, as can be seen in behind the scenes photos. Hank has oval tender buffers instead of round ones. Merrick was originally named Bradley and Owen named Bud. Tim Whitnell, John Hurt, and Shane Jacobson all voice characters who have the same name as them. While Edward was the first character to be officially created, it was technically Annie who existed long before him. Wilbert built a model of her as a teenager in 1927. One of the Scottish twins is wearing his nameplate above his face for some reason. Reginald Dolby technically created Flat Running Board Thomas in this illustration, albeit unintentionally. Flying Scotsman's wooden railway toy mistakenly wears Henry's face. Duncan's wooden toy has a lamp where his whistle should be. Coldy's take-along and take-and-play models erroneously have buffers. Just like in season 4, Duncan's CGI face has a cleft chin, which is not present on the promos. Rheneas and Sir Handel are wearing each other's faces here, and the former will continue to wear the latter's face in multiple toy lines. Stafford, Millie, Hero, and Stephen were originally going to have different names. Stephen hums the original theme song here.
It was Stephen.
Bertie hums Somebody Has to Be a Favorite here.
Somebody's got to be in the family. Hey, excuse me!
Percy has been stuck in water 4 times and Thomas has crashed into a mine 6 times. Thomas is not wearing a face in this shot. Yeah, I don't know what happened here. Henry's wheels are turning backwards here, as are Thomas's in this chase sequence. Spencer's wheels are black in this scene and his nameplates are strangely left blank. According to Crossed Lines, well wagons can talk.
The shunting should have been easy, but James was cross and bumped the trucks. Oh, 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 they cried.
Don't ask me how. In season 11's Runaway Car, Thomas says that he isn't strong enough to pull Rocky.
But I'm not strong enough to pull Rocky on my own.
Though in season 12's Don't Go Back, Thomas is shown to transport him just fine. The same is also true for Percy. In season 14's Being Percy, he says,
Would you pull Rocky with me to help Gordon? I'm not strong enough alone.
But in season 19's Helping Hero, Percy is also able to hold Rocky with ease. The 2003 disc of James and the Red Balloon and Other Thomas Adventures incorrectly spells balloon as Ballon. Both Michael and Alec mispronounce Farquhar.
My favourite station is Farquhar.
My favorite station is Farquhar, said Thomas.
Despite Lady having a rear coupling hook, she's lacking a front one. For some bizarre reason, Gordon's buffer is missing in this shot, and his tender is not rendered correctly in this one. Annie and Clarabelle's CGI renders are not identical. Annie's window shapes are rounded, and Clarabelle's eyes are further apart. Bertie and Henrietta were both 1 season short of appearing in every series of the show, excluding the Pack spin-off. Bertie didn't appear in season 22, and Henrietta didn't appear in season 23. Season 24's Gordon and Rebecca Coming Through is the only episode in which Henrietta speaks and Toby doesn't.
What are you slowing down for, Rebecca? I'm waiting for you to turn up first. But you don't have to wait for us. You're the express.
Despite Henry usually being a wimp in the CGI series, Thomas correctly refers to him as old and wise in season 14's Thomas and Scruff.
You're old and wise.
The same is also true with Toby in Jitters and Japes.
You're an older engine, Toby. What would you find fun to do on Misty Island?
I have no clue how Spencer and Gordon are able to hear so clearly from such great distances.
Where are you going? I nearly caught up with you. Never mind. I'm afraid I have to be really useful now.
Gordon is such a show-off. Just because he pulls the express, he doesn't have to say that. Express coming through.
I heard that.
Harold's sad mouth is clearly visible here. What is it with Henry's body and tender not matching in colour? The same is also true for Percy's close-up cap. James's tender frame changes color and the adventure begins. Sometimes it's red, sometimes black. Speaking of, you can see him in his red livery in this shot. Now how on earth did this happen? Why is Edward the only one to not have a stripe next to his smoke box despite having one in the Railway series? Why does Gordon not know who Flying Scotsman is? Never mind the fact that they're brothers, Scotsman is literally the most famous steam engine in the world. The driver's hand is glitching through Edward's cab, the tracks are glitching through Titmouth Tunnel. Why is diesel repaired at the steamworks instead of the diesel works? Why does Ted Robbins omit the Scottish accent for Duncan despite still providing one for Donald and Douglas?
Isn't there a shop near the station by the lake, he said? He puts me in mind of my days in Scotland, Douglas remarked. Some of the engines up in the Highlands were yon colour. Jocks, we used to call them.
Why was the dialogue so drastically altered in the US dub of Squeak?
So sweet and a dirty, like a proper steam engine. Peasant. Gordon huffed snootily. Yes, I am pleasant, smiled Percy. He was glad somebody noticed.
So sweet and dirty, like a proper steam engine. But he's filthy, Gordon huffed snootily. But I clean up nice, smiled Percy. He was glad somebody noticed.
Why does Philip sleep at Wellsworth despite working at Knapford? Why do only Whiff and Salty know about Misty Island? How are Bash and Dash supposed to run without a proper chassis? Why is Thomas surprised at the fact that the logging locos run on oil despite knowing Victor does too? Why does Thomas want to go all the way to Brendam to travel to Misty Island via ship despite just coming from the tunnel? Thomas's wheels are turning way too slowly in this shot. What is going on with Percy's side rods here? Despite having run out of coal, Duncan's bunkers are clearly shown to be full. Edward's running board is a completely different color compared to the rest of the cast. In King of the Railway concept art, Thomas's proportions are much more akin to the real E2s. James is illustrated as a 10-wheeler here, Duck as a mogul in this illustration, and Oliver as an 060 in that one. Why did they bother to create a raspberry tanker in CGI only to never use it? Where on earth is Maythwaite?